Evening, YouTubers. The new Time Travel Jaime 88. I'm back with another Doctor Who DVD review, and yes, we're still celebrating Doctor Who's 50th anniversary. So today, since is the big day for Doctor Who turned 50 years old, I'm going to do the best of Doctor Who story. I'm continuing to select each 11 Doctors from my personal pick story. So tonight I'm going to do the 4th Doctor, Tom Baker, by selecting 13 stories from his era. Yep. Without further ado, sit back and relax and let's begin. The first story that I selected is his first story, Robot. Yes. Robot is a very good story, and I love it. It's the first ever Doctor Who story to feature the 4th Doctor, and the continuity, this all still the unit and all from the 3rd Doctor era. This particular adventure marks the last time of the 3rd Doctor's laboratory and all the unit men until Terror of the Zygons. This 4-part story, Robot, originally transmitted on December 28th, 1974 to January 18th, 1975. Now, this story reminds me of King Kong. That's what I Squished the Pancake said. Well, sadly, she's no longer on YouTube. Okay, the next story that I picked is a classic 6-part story, Genesis of the Daleks. Oh yes, this is another one of my favorite Tom Baker stories all time, and features Davros, voiced by Michael Wisher, and he did a wonderful job playing the Dalek creator. Yup, and all is set into like a military war with the Dalek. This 6-part adventure originally transmitted on March 8th to April 12th, 1975. Next up is Terror of the Zygons. Oh yes, I have loved this episode. This one, the 4th Doctor battles the Loch Ness Monster with the help of UNIT, and to stop the Zygon Loch Ness Monster from destroying all oil rigs in the North Sea. Good episode. And to start off Tom Baker's 2nd season. This particular adventure originally transmitted on August 30th to September 20th, 1975. Next, The Seeds of Doom. Whoops. Sorry about that. Before that, The Brains of Morbius. Now, this is another good classic Tom Baker story. This story pays a homage to Frankenstein. The story writing is very okay, and is good directed by Christopher Barry. Yep, and this is I forgot who the guy playing, but anyway, this particular adventure originally transmitted on January 3rd to the 24th, 1976. Yup, Philip Maddock's 3rd appearances of Doctor Who. Next up, now we're going to another 6-part adventure, The Seeds of Doom. Oh yes, this is a great episode. Another 4th Doctor adventure. That's when they into the house all covered in vines and with the cranoids. Scorby gets just desserts. And I agree with Tessa Coyles. This is a good particular adventure. The Seeds of Doom. This adventure, the 6-part story, originally transmitted on January 31st to March 6, 1976. Next up is The Deadly Assassin. Brilliant 4-part story, and reintroduced The Master. This is one of the Doctor only episode that travels in a companion. He traveled alone, while the companion Sarah Jane Smith. The fourth-part story from season 14, originally transmitted on October 30th to November 20th, 1976. Okay, next story, another 6-part story, The Talents of Wang Cheyenne, special edition. Yes, another good story. It involves set in China. Another classic story. It's one of my favorite all-time stories. And with the story by Robert Holmes, did a wonderful job. This story originally transmitted on February 26th through April 2nd, 1977. And story in the streets of Victorian London. And look for deep roaring in this particular episode. And here's the Fourth Doctor dressed as Sherlock Holmes. Next up, The Sunmakers. Another brilliant Fourth Doctor story. The story involved with Doctor Who's about involvement with death and taxes. And also, the boss man did a wonderful job in playing this particular story. I love this episode. They were live on planet Pluto. This story originally transmitted on November 26th through December 17th, 1977. The Collector. Well, all his schemes are backfired. Next up, Leah's final story, The Invasion of Time. Yup, brilliant 6-part story, and introduced the Centaurians, and marks the second appearances of the Castellan. Also President Borosha, too. This time, another regeneration of Borosha. The 6-part story originally transmitted on February 4th through March 11th, 1978. Next up, another 6-part story, City of Death. This is one of the best all-time Doctor Who stories ever. And along with the co-writer, Douglas Adams, I sure tell you that he did a wonderful job written this episode. Now, you don't know who Douglas Adams is. He is a writer of Hitchhiker's A Guide to the Galaxy. John Cleese has a cameo in this episode. And this marks the second appearances of Julian Glover of Doctor Who. This story originally transmitted on September 29th through October 20th, 1979. The story is set in Paris. Next up is The Unfinished Story. Shada! Yes, Shada. Sadly, none of these episodes were completed because due to the strike at the BBC back in 1979. And this would be the last time they used the Fourth Doctor's slit scan sequence until 1980. And I tell you, this is a remarkable story. Christopher Neiman did a wonderful job playing the evil guy. This 4-part adventure originally transmitted on 1992. Yup. In Cambridge, a Time Lord. And Tom Baker did a wonderful job linking the narration of this particular adventure. Next up, Meglos. Meglos, brilliant story. I love this particular adventure. Tom Baker did a wonderful job playing dual roles, the Fourth Doctor and the Cactus Fourth Doctor, Meglos. and marks the return of Jacqueline Hill to Doctor Who. This is her last television appearances before she died in 1993. The four-part adventure, Megalos, originally transmitted on September 27th through October 18th, 1980. And finally, the final story, Logopolis. This is one of my favorite all-time Tom Baker stories ever, and it's a classic in my opinion, in which the Doctor has to stop the Master from destroying the time and creating different versions of the TARDIS too. And Tom Baker's final line is an end, but the moment began to prepare for. The four-part story, originally transmitted on February 28th through March 21st, 1981. Okay, folks, let me line back up to show you guys the particular story. Oops. Let's show you. Let me line back up with this. Let me give you guys what it looks like. Okay. Alright. Well. Okay. That's it for the Tom Baker story. Next time, we'll be looking at the Fifth Doctor story, Peter Davison. Rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone.